The history of humanity has continued to this day through countless wars and the flow of power. A single moment of decision has built empires, while another choice has brought the world to its knees. How has the history of the world been created? Countless choices and decisions, along with immense conflicts, have shaped who we are today. Today, we reflect on 10 pivotal turning points that changed the course of war, politics, and humanity's destiny. From ancient times to the American Revolutionary War, ancient wars. Our journey begins in ancient times. The wars of this era often determined the fate of empires. The Greco-Persian Wars 499 to 449 BC. The Achaemenid dynasty, the Persian Empire, was the most powerful empire in the world at that time. King Darius I aimed to expand his territory westward, and after suppressing a rebellion by the Greek city-states in Asia Minor Ionia, he decided to attack the Greek mainland, which was identified as the instigator. Among various battles, the first invasion, known as the Battle of Marathon, is said to have inspired the marathon race from the story of the marathon runner who ran to announce the Greek victory over Persia and died in the process. As a result of the war, the democratic city-states prevented imperial domination, maintaining Greece's independence, which led to the rise of Athens and the formation of the Delian League to expand their power. However, this became the seed of the conflict between Sparta and Athens. The significant meaning of this war was that it served as a symbol of the victory of free citizens against the tyranny of the empire, greatly influencing Western political history. 2. The prosperity of Rome. The Punic Wars 264 to 146 BC. The Punic Wars refer to the three wars fought between Rome and Carthage over control of the ancient Mediterranean. 264 to 146 from the Latin word Pinus. Phoenician. Carthage was originally a Phoenician colony. During the Second Punic War, known for the legendary march, the Carthaginian general Hannibal led elephants across the Alps to resulting in the death of 80,000 Roman soldiers at the Battle of Cannae. However, Rome ultimately defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama through a prolonged conflict. The three Punic Wars established Rome's dominance in the Mediterranean, laid the groundwork for military and economic expansion into an imperial system, and transformed into a large land-holding system. However, the military centered around agricultural aristocrats, leading to civil wars. 14th century, the Mongol conquest began in the late 12th century, when the Central Asian Mongolian steppes were divided among various tribes. Genghis Khan, the ruler of the world, in 1206, marking the birth of the Mongol Empire. With outstanding horsemanship, archery skills, mobility strategies, and an information network, they embark on conquest of Central Asia, Western Xia, and Jin 1206 to 1227. During this period, the Mongol army swept across the Silk Road, advancing into Persia, the Caucasus, and southern Russia, and in 1227, Genghis Khan passed away. Genghis Khan's grandson Batu Khan led the European campaign, known as the Western Expedition, from 1236 to 1242, during which Russia came under Mongol rule and became part of the Kipchak Khanate. Another grandson, Kublai Khan, completed the conquest of China from 1271 to 1279, establishing the name Yuan and making Dadu Beijing the capital, thus becoming the center of global trade focused on East Asia. Another grandson, Hulagu, ruled over Persia and Iraq, capturing Baghdad in 1258 and destroying the Abbasid Caliphate, which sent shockwaves through the Islamic world, leading to the sentiment that the heart of civilization has collapsed. In the campaigns in South Asia and Southeast Asia, they advanced as far as near Delhi in northern India but faced limitations due to climate and terrain issues. They attempted to invade Japan twice in 1274 and 1281, but both attempts failed due to the typhoon Kamikaze. The vast Mongolian Empire eventually divided into four also did not succeed, marking a limit to their conquests in Southeast Asia. The Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, the Kipchak Khanate in Eastern Europe and Russia, and the Ilkhanate in Persia and the Middle East, each developing independently before declining in the late 14th century. Historically, Mongolia formed the largest empire in the world, unifying about 22% of the Eurasian continent. promoting the exchange of Eastern and Western civilizations, reviving the Silk Road, and facilitating active exchanges among merchants, envoys,
Marco Polo's
travels
travels
also occurred during this period, and the spread of the plague acted as a route for the transmission of the Black Death to Europe. The emergence of Mongolia simultaneously triggered the fusion and clash of various regional civilizations. Along with the expansion of the international administrative system, the postal network
For the
Black
Black
Death,
and
which
policies
occurred between
by the
Bacterium
bacterium
7 and
Yersinia
1352,
pestis,
primarily
in the mid-14th
transmitted by
century.
fleas and rats. The name originates from the symptoms where the skin of the infected person necroses and turns black, hence called Black Death. The death toll is estimated to be around 75 million to 200 million worldwide, resulting in about 13 to 12 of the population in Europe at that time dying. Examining the social and economic impacts of the Black Death, the sharp decline in Europe's labour force due to population loss led to the collapse of the rural economy, resulting in a rise in the status and wages of peasants due to a lack of labour to cultivate the land. As the collapse of feudalism accelerated and the power of lords weakened, the number of free farmers and urban merchants increased, providing an opportunity for the emerging bourgeoisie, which gradually led to the dismantling of the medieval social structure. The religious shock was believed to be God's punishment, spreading through religious fear and fanaticism, leading some to scapegoat Jews and pagans, resulting in mass killings, while the authority of the church declined as prayers and clergy failed to stop the disease. As a long-term change, it became a catalyst for the development of concepts in medicine and hygiene, marking a turning point in the thoughts of the Renaissance and modern humanism, and laid the foundation for the spread of wage economies and the recovery of urban economies due to population decline. Subsequently, it re-emerged intermittently until the 17th century, with notable examples being the Great Plague of London in 1665, but in localized outbreaks in Asia
become a
during the
treatable
19th
infection
century
with
antibiotics. 5. The fall of Constantinople. The fall of Constantinople in 1453
Symbolizing the end
was
of
the
the Middle
event when the
Ages
Ottoman
and the
Empire
beginning of the
conquered
modern
capital
era.
of the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire. A new turning point for Europe was the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire, which blocked the Eastern Mediterranean trade routes. Prompting European merchants to seek new routes to Asia, ultimately serving as a direct catalyst for the Age of Exploration. The migration of Greek scholars to the West spread classical literature to Europe,
The Age of
which
Exploration
facilitated the
refers
spread
to
of the
the period
Renaissance
from
from the late 15th century to the early 17th century, when European nations explored new trade routes, navigated around the world. This period marks the starting point of modern globalization, which later became the foundation for imperialism and modern capitalism. The economic motivation behind the Age of Exploration was the fall of Constantinople in 1453, which allowed the Ottoman Empire to control the east-west trade routes, prompting European merchants to seek new Asian routes for spices and silk. Technological advancements included the invention of the compass, the magnetic needle for navigation, and the astrolabe for measuring positions using stars. Additionally, long-distance sailing ships such as the Carrack and Caravel were developed, while political and religious factors included the intensifying competition between Spain and Portugal. The first successful establishment of a sea route to India and Europe was achieved by Portugal's Vasco da Gama, who rounded the Cape of Good Hope and arrived in Columbus of Spain, whom we all know well, reached the newly discovered continent of America while searching for a western route to India, and although Magellan died during his circumnavigation of the globe, his crew member Elcano completed the journey, proving that the Earth is round. Historically speaking, from an economic perspective, the exploration of new sea routes led to the expansion of global trade and the growth of capitalism. Politically, it marked the rise of maritime empires such as Spain, Portugal, and Britain. Culturally, it resulted in the expansion of geographical knowledge and the formation of a Europe-centered worldview. Lastly, from a global historical perspective, such as colonial domination, racial discrimination, to great indulged slavery, abusing papal power, the Protestant Reformation occurred from the late 15th century to the early 16th century. The development of humanism and printing technology fostered skepticism towards church authority and a return to a Bible-centered faith. In 1517, the German theologian Martin Luther initiated the Reformation by posting his 95 Theses on the door of the Wittenberg Cathedral. Luther asserted that salvation is attained through faith alone, sola fide, and the Bible is the only basis for faith, sola scriptura, thereby denying the authority of the Pope. The Vatican excommunicated Luther, but with the support of the German princes, the Lutheran Church, known as Lutheranism, was formed. In Switzerland, Zwingli and John Calvin continued the Reformation, developing Calvinism, which emphasized predestination, diligence, and frugality. In England, Henry VIII broke away from the Pope and established the Church of England, carrying out an independent Reformation. As a result, Protestantism spread throughout Europe, and the split with Roman Catholicism was confirmed. The papacy promoted the Catholic Reformation as a counter-reformation, attempting internal purification through the establishment of the Jesuits and the convening of the Council of Trent. Politically, the power of monarchies in various countries was strengthened, leading to religious wars, particularly the 30 Years' War. The significance of the Protestant Reformation was that it recognized the freedom of biblical interpretation. It influenced modern individualism, civic thought, and the capitalist spirit known as Protestant ethics. The 30 Years' War occurred from 1618 to 1648 and initially began primarily in the Holy Roman Empire region of Germany. That gradually developed into a struggle for European hegemony. After Luther's Reformation 1517, there was a conflict between Catholic forces centered around the Habsburg family and Protestant forces, Lutheran and Calvinist princes in Germany. As political interests overlapped with religious tensions, the conflict escalated into a war that entangled all of Europe. The course of the war included the Bohemian War from 1618 to 1625, the Danish War from 1625 to 1629, the Swedish War from 1630 to 1635, and the French and Swedish War from 1635 to 1648, during which the justification of the religious wars weakened, and it transitioned into a political war over European hegemony. As a result, the Peace of Westphalia was signed in 1648, which is regarded as the end of the war and the starting point of the modern international order. The significance of the 30 Years' War lies in its establishment of the Westphalian system, which marked the beginning of the modern sovereign state system, loss of life with about one-third of the German population decreasing, and the formation of economically centered international relations. After this 30 Years' War, Europe laid the groundwork for the formation of modern international diplomacy. When we think of civil wars, what comes to mind? The American Civil War comes to mind. Did you know that there was a civil war in England as well? Between 1642 and 1651, a civil war broke out across England between King Charles I and the parliamentary forces, resulting in the temporary abolition of the monarchy and the establishment of a republic. This war is also known as the Puritan Revolution, and it laid the foundation for the development of constitutionalism through the strengthening of parliamentary authority. In 1660, Charles II ascended to the throne with the restoration of the monarchy, but absolute monarchy could not be revived. The Glorious Revolution in 1688 established a parliamentary constitutional monarchy. 10. The American Revolution. Did you know that there was a revolution? The American Revolution refers to the War of Independence against British colonial rule in the 13 British colonies in North America from 1775 to 1783, marking the beginning of American independence and modern democracy. The background of the American Revolution is that in the 18th century, Britain, after the 7 Years' War from 1756 to 1763, intensified tax collection in the colonies to cover the enormous war expenses incurred after their victory. Representative tax policies included the Stamp Act of 1765, which imposed taxes on newspapers and documents, granted a monopoly on tea trade to the East India Company. The colonists were outraged that they had to pay taxes without having any representatives in Parliament. The slogan "No taxation without representation" became a symbol of the independence movement. The Battle of Lexington in 1775 marked the beginning of the American Revolutionary War, and on July 4th, the Declaration of Independence drafted by Thomas Jefferson was announced. All men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, but among these are life, George Washington
liberty,
served as the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army and led the American victory in the Battle of Saratoga in 1777, the surrender of British General Cornwallis at the Battle of Yorktown in 1781. Effectively ended the war, and in 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially recognized American independence. The American Revolution led to the birth of the United States, the establishment of the world's first written constitution in 1787. Additionally, the spread of human rights, freedom, and equality ideas significantly influenced the French Revolution and other European revolutions, signaling the collapse of the old colonial system and the dawn of the modern democratic era.